my thoughts I put into voice recorder and then put it straight into the Song AI app without putting it into AI. Here we go.
Today, I want to talk about both sides if you have a really good, beautiful life, beautiful husband, beautiful wife, beautiful children, and then you think something is wrong with those that don't. And then I want to equate that to those that do not have a beautiful life. They have the worst life ever. They feel as though they have the worst life ever. They don't have a husband. They don't have a wife. They don't have children. Or they could have children, or they do not have a wife or a husband with them. Something like that. And I want to compare both sides to say that if you fall into any type of category, it's not beneficial for either party to look at the other and say my life, or say anything about your life in comparison to another's person's life that you look at. And I want to give specific examples in every relationships, all types of relationships, whether it's the workplace, just like I mentioned with intimate relationships, just like I mentioned with relationships with children, without children, relationships in the neighborhood, relationships in a business, and just any type of relationship is that as far as that goes. I think the main thing is protecting yourself from harm from others. If you start to feel that you have to compare yourself to others, regardless of how beautiful or how beautiful you feel your life is, how bad you feel your life is, it is time to dismiss yourself from these type of people until you build yourself up. Look in the mirror and figure out how you can make yourself feel good without comparing yourself to others, which is the ultimate joy within self.
It is emotionally and spiritually dangerous on both sides when people use someone else's life as the measuring stick for their own worth, whether they feel on top or at the bottom. What comparison really does. Social comparison theory says people naturally judge themselves by stacking their life against others, which shapes how worthy or unworthy they feel. Research links constant comparing with more envy, anxiety, depression, and lower self-esteem, even when life looks good from the outside. When someone with a beautiful life, partner, kids, stability, looks down on those without it, that comparison can create superiority, entitlement, and a lack of empathy that harms relationships. When someone who feels they have the worst life keeps looking up at others, that same comparison can deepen shame, resentment, and hopelessness. How it shows up in relationships. In intimate relationships, people compare their marriage or singleness to friends, social media, couples, or cultural ideals, and then draw conclusions about who is winning at life. This can make married people secretly judge single or divorced friends, and single people quietly resent or distrust those who are partnered. In the workplace, comparison around titles, pay, praise, or workload fuels in group bias, competition, and lower job satisfaction instead of collaboration. In neighborhoods and business settings, comparing homes, cars, business success, or visibility creates quiet hierarchies that poison trust and block healthy community. Why no side is better? Upward comparison tends to produce inadequacy and depression. downward comparison. Seeing others as worth briefly boosts ego, but increases disconnection and relational stress. Both patterns pull people away from reality and away from genuine connection, because attention shifts from how can we relate to who is above and who is below. Even people with very difficult lives are harmed when they keep saying my suffering is the worst and dismiss others, because that locks them into isolation and comparative suffering instead of shared humanity. Likewise, those with privilege or ease are harmed when they say my life is proof I did it right, because that blocks humility, growth, and compassion for people whose path is different. Protecting yourself from comparison harm. When you notice that being around certain people makes you judge others or yourself more harshly, it is healthy to step back and protect your mind and spirit. Distance gives space to ask, what do I really value outside of what anyone else has or doesn't have? And to rebuild a sense of self that is not dependent on winning the comparison game. Practices like self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend, reduce the urge to compare and are linked with greater resilience, less anxiety and depression, and more stable well-being. From that place, it becomes easier to see every person as fully human instead of as a scoreboard for your own life. When to step away and rebuild. When to step away and rebuild. You know it is time to dismiss yourself from certain conversation. You leave interactions feeling either better than or less than instead of simply feeling like yourself. You notice you are scanning others' lives to decide how valuable you are or how valuable they are. You catch yourself talking about your life mainly in comparison terms. At least I'm not, or I'll never be like, rather than in terms of your own growth and needs. Stepping back to look in the mirror and ask, what makes my life meaningful to me? Even without comparison is not selfish. It is the groundwork for that ultimate joy within self. You described joy that does not depend on having a certain story, but on honoring your own. When to step away and rebuild. You know it is time to dismiss yourself. Fully human instead of as a scoreboard for your life. When to step away and rebuild. You know it is time to dismiss yourself from certain conversations.